Other resources for jobs and opportunities, as I said, AngelList is a really great resource. LinkedIn, everyone knows. Austin Digital Jobs is a Facebook group that has a lot of digital, job openings posted there. And if you want to look at some of those companies posting jobs there, or some of even early stage startups also post jobs there. So check out those things on that Facebook group. Austin Tech Volunteers is again another Facebook group that you can check out for volunteer initiatives that you can volunteer for, or if you want volunteers, especially for tech initiatives, you can post it there. Co-Founders Meetup is a really great meetup that happens on the 16th floor here in Capital Factory every second Tuesday. Really great, wonderful meetup. Lots of people, lots of pitches. I think 5 pitches or 6 pitches every month. So a really good way to find a lot of companies in a quick glance. You can find that on Meetup. Austin Startups Facebook group. If you're in Austin and part of the startup ecosystem here, I think that's a really great group to be part of. There's tons of discussions happening every day. You can ask any questions that pertain to you or your startup. Whether it's related to Austin, things or not, you can post it there, and there's a lot of support there. If you want a structured class-like, thing for startups, you want to know about ideation, different stages of startups, getting to market and things like that. Y Combinator has put up a series of classes by Sam Altman. They're on YouTube. You can check them out. They're really good, really wonderful classes. They're free anyway on YouTube. And if any of you are part of the startup school program that Y Combinator runs, they put up those classes also on YouTube. I think after the program runs, or maybe even during the program. I don't know how they're doing these days, but you can check out those as well. Again, local meetups, everyone knows, and Austin Tech Startups Guide is a place where we are trying to put all the information for startups for Austin, all the upcoming events, upcoming conferences and things like that. Anything that pertains to startups, we're planning to put there. Not fully fledged, but you can check it out. Startup Info Matters is again a concise, a one-stop shop for all startup links. You can go there and find links to various resources from that one place. A lot of people that come to these meetups also look for help in the sense like early stage founders working solo or working in a small group, needing help with either testing of their apps or products or services, getting some feedback and things like that. If anyone is in that mode, let us know so we can shoot an email to the group saying so-and-so startup or so-and-so person needs help with their app or product or service, and that other people in the group can chip in. Anyone that's just released their product or released their service, if you want us to just send out a blast to the group about your product or service, so as to help spread the word, let us know. We can do that as well. Any of you hiring or looking to team up with someone, this is a good place. We have a round where we go through the whole room, so you can give a shout out if you're looking for someone to team up with, and if there's anyone here, that's great. If not, we'll also send it to the group. Anyone looking for jobs? Funlayer, we are looking for 2 full stack developers. If you know anyone, let us know. We are more than happy to talk to them, and we're right now hiring. Any startup things that you want to be discussed here, or if you have questions, let us know. We may not have all the answers, but Lily is pretty connected to the startup world, and there's a lot of folks that are connected to the startup world. We have a lot of networks, so we can maybe point you to the right person if we know or have one in our network. So let us know if you need any help with any of those things. Next meetup, as I said, it's going to be a healthcare focused meetup with a panel of healthcare startups, local healthcare founders coming here and talking about how they went about their startups and things like that. And It's on November 20th. We usually do our meetup on the fourth Monday every month, but next month it's, I think, right after the Thanksgiving weekend, so we moved it to the Tuesday before. So make a note of that if you want on the calendars. And for future meetups, if you want to present your ideas or products or services, let us know. I mean, we can accommodate you in one of our future pitching events. And not every meetup or not every event that we have here may be of utmost use to everyone here. So we try to keep it relevant to the larger group of folks, but sometimes we may not be discussing the things that you might need. If that's the case, let us know. I mean, we have done startup law earlier, but some people have asked for patents. That's good. I mean, we're going to get that attorney again for patents. I mean, if you want any other things like that discussed here, I know last time the majority of people wanted fundraising as the main topic to be discussed. We're getting one in December for that. Any other things like that, if you want, let us know. We can schedule a session solely for that event or for that topic. Before the main talk happens, we also try to do a few things, which is, I know a lot of people come here new to Austin, new to the startup world, and may not have a lot of connections. And even people here in Austin that have been here may not have connections in the right places. So this is a gathering of people that are related to startups in some fashion, right? So we're all here because we have something to do with startups. So there might be someone else in the room that might be of help to you, if not now, in future. It's always good to have connections. So as I said, I mean, not every session that we have here will be of use to everyone always. But one thing that I can guarantee is that you can go away with one thing is you can make a new connection here and go away from this meetup. And that might be the least I can promise. So what we'll do now is just a small exercise, not hard exercise, but we'll take 2 minutes, and in those 2 minutes, what I want you to do is to look at your right or left and find one person that you have not met before you came to this event today, and try to introduce yourself, get a feel of what they are, who they are, and what they do, and then just 2 minutes, and then you can continue the conversations later after this meetup, okay? And let's start it now. So that's 2 minutes, and I hope you at least introduce yourself to one other person here, and I hope you'll continue the conversations afterwards. And that's what we want to happen, in the sense like you don't know who you're going to meet here. You're going to meet someone that might be super useful to you maybe in the future. So who knows, right? I mean, that's what we want to always make new connections. So other than that, I'll go through a few quick questions, just a show of hands, nothing more. Just wanted to get a feel of what the audience is looking like, so that way we can tune our sessions, upcoming sessions, and tune our topics here much better for the folks that come here. So what's the one thing you're here for? I mean, if you can just point to just one thing. Anyone? Networking. Yes, sir. Networking? Okay. Is there anything else? Anyone has learning about running business? Okay, that's wonderful. Anything else, or yes, sir?
My company is starting a program specifically aimed at startups, and so I'm here to identify potential candidates.
Identify potential candidates for your program. That's great. So I think that kind of tells us that there's some people that are that are here to make connections. There are some people that want to learn new things, new startups, and learn from others. So that's wonderful. So tell us who you are. Are you an investor, founder, enthusiast? So how many investors are there in the group? There's two. Okay.
Enthusiasts?
First investors. Okay.
No.
So 2 investors. Okay. Let's close the doors. So the next one, founders. How many of you are founders of companies? Quite a few here, so that's good. How many of you have not released your app or have not started working on your app but are still in the ideation phase? Thinking about? A few? Okay. That's good. So that's kind of the enthusiast. So how many of you have not started a startup or are not planning to start one in the next 6 months or so, but came here just to network? That's good. Thank you. Okay, so the next thing is we want to learn like what you want most out of the meetup. What we do is we do deep dives. We get startups here and have pitches and do Q&A, things like that. We do learning sessions where we get subject matter experts and do learning sessions. We also do networking. We kind of also mix 1 or 2 here and there, and we also are planning to do some office hours by bringing mentors and angels and things like that. So, who likes to have more deep dive sessions with founders? Show of hands? Anyone? How many? Okay. Oh, there's. How many of you want subject matter experts here, like VCs, angels, attorneys, and folks like that? Okay. Any particular session that you want? Other than fundraising, we are already doing fundraising session, but anything else? Any topic?
Angel investing is pretty interesting.
Angel investing? Okay.
Financials.
Financials? Okay.
PR.
PR? Yeah. I think we have one. I was planning maybe February we may have one PR. Wonderful. Office hours with mentors or other folks. Cool. Thank you. Okay, so that's all I have before we start our main thing. But one thing I want you to keep in mind is when people come here and talk about their startups and things like that, they usually are early stage founders and even experienced founders. It doesn't matter. But if you like what they're speaking about, or if you want to promote them, do tweet about them, do post or like on Facebook, or go to their pages on their startup pages or whatever on Facebook, or follow them on LinkedIn, AngelList, and blog about them if you're more of a blogger. And if they have an app or something that they're releasing, please do download their app and give some feedback that's, I mean, usually the early stage companies have, they don't have many customers, they have great products, but not many customers. So please encourage those companies by downloading their apps or signing up on their websites and giving them feedback. And if you like those, tell your family and friends, and again, provide feedback. So with that said, one more question I had is Chris from Tunerly here? Okay, I think Chris is not here. Okay, that's fine. We'll start with our first pitch, which is Just Happy Hours with Rachel Lynn.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Can you all hear me in the back? Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for coming out tonight to hear more about startups. I'm Rochelle Lynn. I'm the founder of Just Happy Hours. Just Happy Hours is a mobile app that helps users meet new people at restaurants over happy hour, and also helps restaurants generate more income from their happy hours. So happy hour is about 30% of restaurant revenue, so this helps them capitalize on it. Also, as we go through the process of having restaurants update their happy hours and using user-generated content, we'll be creating a marketable database of restaurants with their happy hour information included. So the reason that I came up with the idea for Just Happy Hours and then decided to create a mobile app, I ran a meetup group with several hundred people in it back in the small town in Florida where I'm from. Had about between 10 and 35 people at each event, and realized that the restaurants were really benefiting by the revenue that I was creating for them by having these, and I wasn't getting anything, and that there might be a marketable place there. And then in terms of the happy hour itself and people meeting new people, I was noticed in my group, just from chatting with people, that a lot of people are trying to, in a certain age group, which I'll talk about it in a minute, a lot of people are trying to regenerate their friendships. They're trying to create new social communities, because through life transitions like getting divorced, moving, doing a lot of travel and maybe just not being in town as often, and being widowed, and kids growing up and leaving the house, they just have gotten to a point where there's where they feel kind of adrift and are looking for new friends. The competitive challenge for restaurants is really about the fact that there are tons of restaurants, as we know from living in Austin, that are competing for people's dollars, and if they can't compete well and compete fast, then they don't tend to stick around very long. And then also, as I went through the process of actually having the app developed, I realized there were a lack of databases in the office, in the market, that have that complete information about restaurants, and certainly don't have their happy hour information, but a lot of them don't even have information on kind of the basic things, or they're just not complete, and they're also very expensive. So here's the solution, was to create the app with happy hour events to meet people. Restaurants can have the revenue portion of it, besides the database, is that restaurants can create a subscription with us, and that's called a gold membership, and they pay per quarter, and they're able to benefit from having their restaurant listed at the top of search results and the zip codes for which they're found. They also are able to create their own events. So say they have a trivia night, a game night, a fight night. Maybe they just want to promote, the bartender wants to promote a new drink at the bar. They can create their own events and notify people in the area to come to those. And they also get to expand their listing. So instead of just listing their regular happy hour specials, they have space to talk about late night happy hours and some of those other events that I mentioned, like trivia nights. So our target market is not what a lot of people expect. They hear happy hours, a lot of people think young people. So when I first started this, I was gonna call it Not Your Mama's Happy Hour, but for a lot of you, it probably is your mama's happy hour. People in the age range, I've found it between this, especially between this 40 to 54, 55 range, are the ones that I've talked about that have gone through those transitions to a degree, that they really appreciate the community that's created by going out and having a drink or dinner with other local people and just chatting about their lives. And I had people all the time say to me, well, I would have been home, you know, watching Netflix and eating microwave popcorn, but I feel better because I'm out talking to people. And that's really what it's all about. So we certainly aren't going to exclude any target market, but the target market we're really focused on is people of age 40 to 54 and a bit older. So do we have competitors? Yes, everybody has competitors. Our biggest one, of course, would probably be Meetup. My concept with the app was really to improve on Meetup, at least in terms of how the happy hours are. So in just happy hours, everybody can be a creator, which is akin to the organizer in Meetup. They can do that for free. Meetup charges people, of course, by the number of people that they have in their group, and that cost has been going up. Restaurants, you know, of course, aren't notified if you set up an event. You have to go through the logistics of calling them over and over, giving them the final head count, maybe not having people show up, etc. They can be notified of how many people are showing up in real time in the app, so that way they know how to plan for servers and pushing tables together and all the things that kind of go with accommodating a big group. We're also a competitor of OpenTable, much less so I would say than Meetup, but OpenTable does require a lot of vendor control. You have to purchase their equipment in order to use it, and it has to be able to interface with their reservation system. And it's also quite expensive, especially for smaller restaurants. And in our pre-launch ads that we've been running, we have been getting a lot of smaller restaurants that are, you know, the one location that are wanting to be in the app. And I think that is because it appeals to them because they can't afford some of the more expensive advertising. And then Scout is a Meetup, is a meet people in person app. You also can not meet people in person. You can talk to anybody all over the world, but with just happy hours, we really want to get away from that. We want people making these in-person connections to help support them and, you know, through friendship. And so there's not messaging on it where you see sometimes people being inappropriate. It's obviously not for teens, it's for people 21 and up. And so it's got a very different focus from Scout. So financials, I actually raised my hand and said I'd like to hear more about financials. I've been going through a lot of business training because when I first started this, it was kind of a hobby. And then I realized it could be a business, and I still have a day job, so I'm actually working on this in my spare time and on the weekends, or evenings and on the weekends. And so I've had to learn a lot about actually running a business and, you know, getting an LLC started and working through the legalities of having an app. And so that's what I've been working on before I release the first beta test of Android, which is ready, but waiting on insurance and a couple of legal issues. So we do have some financial projections that take into account that we won't really be launched until the end of this year. So here's more about the milestones. I have a little bit probably more of a lofty goal for those user-generated updates than is what is going to be realized. It's going to have to take place after the beta testing. But this is our general timeline, and you know, we just continue moving forward. We've been building an audience on social, trying to, you know, encourage people to consume content, and then every once in a while learn about the upcoming app. And we've been able to be pretty successful on Instagram. Still working more on Facebook and LinkedIn. That's it. Any questions? Yeah.
Sorry if I missed it. Do you plan to launch on Android?
Yes. Yeah. The Android version is done. The iOS version will not be developed until I'm going to do kind of a smaller beta test because it's just version 0.1. It's basically just, does it work? You know, 10 questions. And then because I've tested it about 1 million times, but I designed it, so I kind of feel like I need other people to look at it and give me that feedback, and then we'll put the iOS into play. Yes?
Are you making money?
The restaurants, the gold memberships that I mentioned, those are subscriptions that the restaurants would, they have a free standard listing, but it just contains the basics that you kind of could get off of Yelp. And so in order to create their own events, be at the top of listings in their zip code, and have those expanded listings, they would pay for the membership. And then once the database gets to where it's a viable product, then we'll market that as well, and we will lease that.
What is your process for getting restaurants to sign up?
So we've been testing out a few different things. We actually just finished a video that's about 23 seconds long that just kind of, gives them the benefits, and we're gonna start running some ads on that. All of our signups thus far have either come from, no, we'll run ads. So we've been running Facebook ads, and those have been pretty successful, and we've been, and also sometimes restaurants just see it. A couple of them have seen it on social media and just written to me and said, how can I get in the app? Yes.
How does the restaurants know that the revenue would be coming from your app?
That's a great question. So that is something that we'll want to develop down the line so that they can tie that to it. They will know that the party that's coming in it comes from the app, because they'll get a notification that says, hey, on December 12th, 15 people are going to come for happy hour, and so they'll know when they get there. But we do have plans for a sales, for having a sales team, so that down the road they'd have a connection that kind of helps them stay aware. And also for having ambassadors. Ambassadors would be somebody that was an avid app user that would be sort of a conduit for the restaurant. And the reason that's important is because I obviously can't talk to everybody, but I'd really like to have somebody, a few people in each city that the restaurant could say, hey, we'd really like to see this in the app, or how can we get promoted in the app, and somebody to be able to answer those questions and also provide feedback to us.
What my questions are. And also like no-shows, because people always say they make plans on an app because it's so easy, but then they don't come.
Sure.
So it's like, how do you know if that's what's going on?
Yeah, so that's also part of the reason for having an ambassador. So it's not somebody it's somebody that is, let me back up a little bit and say that we're also going to integrate a point system, so that if you set up and or attend happy hours, we'd like to integrate with social so people can check in, but that's obviously a few stages down the road. But so people can accumulate points, and that's where we'll get the ambassadors, because we'll know that they're pretty interested, because they're doing the work to gain points from, not just from setting up and attending, but also from updating happy hour listings that haven't been claimed by the restaurants, because obviously there's going to be a lot in there where the restaurant just hasn't paid attention for whatever reason. And so they will be taking, they'll be sort of almost like taking a role in that, and until we get until we have the ability for people to check in, and then we'll hold them accountable. I mean, in my group in Florida, if people no-show and don't change their RSVP 3 times, they're out. It's for people that want to use it.
So I'm trying to think 10th to December, myself, she's just someone who's downloading the app. If I were to download it, what hours could I arrange it happy hour?
So right now, what I have is, I have a business advisor in Florida that helped me get into this. That was like a huge problem, was where am I going to get these? I talked to my developers about Foursquare, Yelp, the APIs, and they're like, it's going to be too many calls, and so there was a lot of back and forth about that. But there are databases that actually have, like, for example, we're doing 12 test cities, and so which are mostly large cities around sort of scattered around the U.S. And Austin, of course, is one of them. And he basically downloaded a CSV file of what's called in the database drinking places, which are just places that say that they serve alcohol, and then we uploaded that into the app. So there's still some cleanup on that to do, because it obviously doesn't have details of their happy hours, but we do have the places are in there.
So do the users get any more than the discounted prices for the happy hour, or like what makes a user come back?
Yeah, so as they accumulate points, then they get prizes, just like, most point systems, you achieve a certain level and you receive, sort of a badge. They'll receive a badge and a gift, and a lot of that will be in the form of restaurant gift cards, so that they can, and those will increase in the amount.
Right, and this is more of a comment than a
Sure.
question, but I'm thinking like, if for the first time, maybe I will look up the app and look for where I want to go with my friends, but the next time I already know that there is a happy hour happening on Tuesday nights at BJ's, right? So what makes me come back again is something that.
Yeah, so you're thinking of going with your friends, and we are going to arrange a way for people to be able to invite others, so that you could just look up other users and invite them. But the core purpose of the app is not to go out with friends, it's to go out with people you've never met before. So like I said, in that sense, it functions like Meetup. So you would say, okay, well, there's a TGIF happy hour, and the event is set up, you would attend, you'd go meet people, and then the next time maybe you look and you're like, there's not one.
Gotcha.
You're a creator, everybody is, so you can set up your own and meet new people that way, and that's what it's for.
Do you have information regarding that comment? Does that actually happen? Or how much is that the case versus people just meeting somebody else or a specific group with which they feel comfortable? And you see my point?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I ran it for over a year. I had to turn people away sometimes because we didn't have enough seats. So I mean, I know that it works. Again, we're focusing on, first of all, remember, we're focusing on a particular age group, but we're also focusing on a particular type of personality. And I've presented before, and somebody would raise their hand and be like, well, I'd shave myself bald before I'd ever do that. And I'm like, well, it's not your app then. That's okay. We're not trying to market to everybody in the United States of America. There are people that have that desire for more of a social life, they don't want to be on a dating app. They don't, even a BFF feature on an app is you're only meeting one person. If you go to a happy hour and you meet 10 people, then you have a much better chance of actually connecting with somebody and saying, okay, yeah, next week let's go to the movies. So that's what it's for. And it isn't for everybody, and I don't try to pretend it is. Yes?
My question is more process oriented, but
Sure.
one, I guess, have you gotten funding for this? Two, did you build the site? And I guess what was the lifeline of this?
So I started in November. I presented, when I was still down in Florida, I presented and somebody asked me about investing, and it was really early in the process, and that's kind of what got me started on actually thinking about it as a business instead of just a hobby. And so I started kind of morphing in that direction, but I'm not necessarily looking for funding because first of all, I have to feel like the business was positioned well enough that I wouldn't be giving away too much. And I'm sorry, I forgot your other question. Funding, when did I start? Oh yeah, there's a site, it's called Just Happy Hours, justhappyhours.com, and you can go sign up if you'd like to beta test. I'd love to have you beta test, because even though I have a mailing list and social and all that, you're not probably going to be lucky if I get 10% to beta test, and I'd rather have too many than too few. So yeah.
What's the in-app experience there? You just log on and it pops up and tells you what is happening.
So it's very, it's pretty simple. You log in, you set up a profile, which is, your name and your email address and your zip code. You select if you want to receive notifications, which most people would since they're signing up to begin with. And then you agree to terms and conditions and that you're over 21 years of age, and then you're in. And then you can either search for happy hours in your area, or you can skip that and go create one, or do both. And on the venue side, actually, I always forget to talk about the creators or our end users or consumers. The venue side is restaurants and bars. They can also set up a profile. They can say in the profile how many people. One of the things that I really needed when I was running this is that, you know, they need to say how many people can sit together, because people get super irritated if they get there to meet people and there's no seats left and they can't sit together. So how many people can they seat together? Some restaurants has 10, some it's, you know, 60. So we want them to put that in there, and then people can choose how large they want their happy hour to be when they set it up. So if just because the restaurant can seat 60 people together, you don't have to set up a happy hour that would try to draw 60 people. Well, all right. Thank you very much.
So we are, the other two startups that we're going to pitch ended up canceling. And so I'm just going to tell you about a startup that a friend of mine is working on, and possibly like pass on questions to her since she couldn't make it. It's called Athena Security. So I'm kind of just doing this on the fly. I don't really have a presentation prepared, but let's see. So how many of you ever went to like a building and they had security cameras there, and they were like, you've seen like the footage is like really blurry, and you know, and the footage that they take is usually kind of after the fact, after the crime has already happened. And then after the crime's already happened, you just see like this blurry image of someone, right? Okay, so Athena Security, it's like a next generation advanced security camera, and they use the special AI technology that actually can detect when someone pulls out a gun. And so as soon as the gun is pulled out, the camera will detect it, and then it'll send an alert out into the building, or it can also alert the authorities right away and tell them, hey, we have officers on their way to the scene. So I'm just going to show you their brief video. So this is a new technology because it actually helps prevent crime right before the shooting actually happens. Click on it. I haven't. Oh, there's no sound. Well, okay. Is there a way to hook up the sound?
Sorry guys, the sound is not working, but
So anyway, if you want to check it out, it's Athena-security.com. If anyone has any questions, you can, I guess you can kind of see what it does. She's kind of explaining. So it detects, as you can see, it's detecting the gun inside the video.
So it sends an alert.
Yeah, there's a voice that comes over the building that says, "Hey, we've detected a weapon." They've also been thinking about how to detect like knives and other weapons, or even like a fight breaking out using this AI technology. And so there's this mobile app to show like all the different cameras.
That's for the user, for the homeowner?
For,
Just look
yeah,
at that.
homeowners, schools, business, it can be implemented. And if they already have a security system, it can just be plugged into their current security system. And if they don't have one, then they can always, Athena will also order it as well. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, seems like everyone's kind of having side conversations. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next. We have another speaker that also wanted to.
Okay, yeah, I think we have two more startups here that can speak about what they want to do or what they're doing right now. I think one is we have Perspective, and then we have Alec. I don't remember what the startup is.
It's okay, I'll just say
It's
it.
Koala. Yeah.
Koala, okay. So, do you want to go ahead first? Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Listen?
Yeah, you can connect to your WPX.
Or I could actually share you the link. How does this work?
Do you have it? Okay, or you can just send it to Simon from there. While we're trying to connect, there's also this chat group here, austin.chat/g/14. So this is a startup that presented last time here, and they are building a community for real-time chat in local groups. They're kind of trying to get Meetup into the online world in real time. I mean, you can think about it like a WhatsApp, but then it's not a mobile app and things like that. I mean, it's just a web application, but we're on there, and there's a lot of other meetups also present here, and we have real-time conversations there with our members. And if you want to reach out to us, or if you want to have conversations with other members in the group, we're all on the austin.chat channel on /g/14. You can connect with the other folks, and there's also a couple of investors from the last event on there, and also the presenters from the last event there. And I mean, you can post your questions. You can also connect to other folks here. You can also log on to. If you log on to austin.chat, you'll see Austin Startup there, Austin Startup Meetup there, and let me bring up this presentation here. You need to access.
Sorry guys, we are just not prepared for this.
Do you want to go ahead and introduce them?
Yeah.
While they're waiting?
Mhm.
Okay. While we're waiting, we're going to go ahead and introduce Alec and Tyler. They want to talk about their startup real quick, and then we'll come back to. Keep going.
Yeah, we'll just keep this really quick. We just want to kind of talk to you guys for like 2 seconds. My name is Alex Corey, and this is my co-founder, Tyler O'Brien. Our startup is called Koala. It's the first time we're saying that in public space, so you guys are really lucky. No, but we are kind of working towards our MVP phase right now. So the first step of that for us is really just trying to do some user research. fortunately, part of our target market is entrepreneurs in different communities like Austin, where people may like travel to that community. So we're hoping to just kind of like talk to people for like 10, 15 minutes tops and just kind of ask some questions. So if any of you guys would be interested in helping us out with that, then that would be amazing. We'd love to connect with you guys and do that over phone, email, coffee, beer, or whatever. We're flexible to hear from you guys. So come see us afterwards, and we'll also send an email after this if you guys want to look after that. Yes. So we're working to build a community product for entrepreneurs, pretty much to try and be like the internet's startup hub. We find that entrepreneurs that are in cities outside of these major startup hubs like San Francisco, Austin, Boulder, wherever you may consider a startup hub. We really want to try and just create a more centralized location for those people online. So, thank you.
Alright, this is completely extempore. I did not come prepared for this, but hey, why not, right? Alright, my name is Wilson Rafael. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Perspective. Again, disclaimer, this deck is not complete, so please, some grace here. Alright, so we'll talk about the problem of feedback and why user feedback is important. We'll talk about the solution, how Perspective can help you get that feedback. The proof, why should you believe that Perspective helps you getting that user feedback, and the plan on how we can, get that together. All right, so the problem, when it comes to user feedback, it's a very blurry landscape. This picture here is pretty clear, right? But when it comes to knowing what your users want or want to do in your app is often very difficult to get to. You will see that the real information that what your customer wants is not really coming out well. It's like, it's not, I'm not satisfied. You don't really know why they're satisfied. You want to know that, but it's not very easy to get that information out of that. When you get user feedback, you don't really know what to keep and what to discard out of, right? So you can basically, you need that feedback so you can reduce the friction and build a good reputation about your product in the industry. And thereby you will improve your conversion rates and make informed decisions about your product. So you make, just not like make a decision with data and with actual real product feedback that what your users are thinking. As valuable as this information is, this landscape is often blurry. Why? Let's look at this whole problem from a user perspective. From a user perspective, when you think about like this pop-up that comes up and it's always like, I don't want to give feedback because it's annoying, it's time consuming. It's often not relevant. The questions are not relevant to me, and it almost like is spammy, right? Sometimes it has that spammy feel. For those reasons, the feedback is sparse and also unreliable. You get data that is not very reliable. So, but with Perspective, it provides you with a clear view of that landscape that you are trying to achieve as a business in this day and age. So the solution. So how can Perspective help you close that feedback loop? Perspective is an in-app feedback management platform that allows you to collect qualitative feedback. It's very different from what Google Analytics gives you, which is very quantitative, like number of clicks or conversion rates or drop-off rates, which is very number-oriented, which is also important. But what your users are feeling as they are using your product, that really does not enable you to do that. So we help in these four ways. So first one is contextual. Let's look at that contextual piece. And the reason that contextual feedback is important because one of the reasons why your users would lose track of of this, if you send a link with the number of questions, is that they lose, they might be interested in like 5 out of the 10 questions, but not all of them, so they lose track, they don't fill up, and hence the participation rates are really low. But with Perspective, you can curate the feedback, the questions to appear to your users in specific points in their whole browsing experience. So that it's very relevant to their browsing experience. So for example, here, this is a band, local band in Austin, and so it's a video page where the video is gone, and like it's about like 20 seconds in is when you are asking the question, how do you rate the music, right? So there's no point asking this question of rating your music before the video was even played, or at a different place when it's like maybe their homepage where there was no music, right? So that's an example of that contextual piece. I think I have a little demo of this, but then you get a picture. Non-intrusive. A lot of feedback again goes back to that the concept that it's spammy, right? Like you might have seen about these pop-ups that come up. Do you want to provide user feedback? Anybody here has clicked on yes? Anybody at any point of your time? Probably not. Me either, right? Like you don't want to do that. But again, those tools, it does not actually take out the need for user feedback, but the problem is that those tools are very obtrusive to the whole browsing experience from a user perspective. So what when we developed this product, we kept the user's browsing experience in mind, ground up while developing it. So in this case, you'd see me actually try and play this. Hopefully this plays with sound, hopefully. But you can see here that I'm actually clicking on that particular link, and then an MPS link question is showing up. In the same way with rating or some other. That question of NPS will not be triggered until and unless the business wants to configure it that way. All right, insightful. So while the users are actually answering your questions, which are in your for your business, we collect a lot of data about your users, with which we can provide trends about the users, the analysis part, including trends, patterns, some sentiment analysis, and basically your user persona analysis as well. This will help you know your users a lot better, and then target your marketing ads or all of your other things which your business does well accordingly based on that data. This is some examples of like how the analytics is, like segmenting it by persona. So basically clustering them by different personas, and then tell you that, hey, this set of users are thinking about your business in this way, so to speak. Channel sensitive. Our product works in both web and mobile, but we also know who came and answered when. So if your users answered a question in your mobile app and the same user comes and into your desktop experience, and that same question will not be asked to them. So it is sensitive that way. Again, same thing. Okay, so here's a placeholder which we don't have. All right, so I'm gonna just step outside of this, just talk about some competitors that we have. So obviously these are some big players that you see, 4C, SurveyMonkey, obviously. Hotjar is a really good company that does heat maps and a bunch of stuff about like user analytics. We have Intercom, is more a sort of like a chat engine or a chat bot, but and Qualtrics. But what we offer is sort of like a cost benefit analysis for this whole in-app solution, in-app product solution. We have had some lorem ipsum. All right, so about the plan. So what we again, this presentation is a little dated, guys. So what we did for the last month and a half is we've been part of Y Combinator Startup School. They run a 10-week program. So we've been part of that, been learning a lot, a ton, being part of that program. We're actually launching the product in 3 weeks' time. So second week of November is when we are actually launching. We're wrapping up the final set of development work before we go out and do it. So what we are actually offering is for people to come partner with us, try it out of a product, and give us feedback. It's at perspectiveux.com. So I encourage everyone here to, even if you have just like, some feedback for us, we'll be really looking forward to like hearing from you guys and making it better. We plan to launch later this year again, and bringing out these the pricing structure and all of that. We are working through that. So with Perspective, we hope that you would we'd be able to like get to users and know what your users are thinking, and improve what you guys do best. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
So you would lay it into an iOS or Android-based app based off the questions that we would want to ask our consumers.
Yep.
And is it easy to randomize? Would it immediately ask every user, or is it a way that you could ask a percentage or a subgroup of your users?
Sure. So we don't have, right now we don't have a way to like segment asking certain questions to certain users, but what we do is have the ability for a specific set of users to ask that question, right? So what I mean is like if let's say you have an experience where you have a reporting or a search, right? So you could, somebody who's using a search feature in your product, ask a question that is relevant to that search, not the reports or your billing or pricing, right? So that way you could target that question to be as specific to that set of users. Now, ask a specific set of users a particular question if they came from a social media route or something else. We don't have that.
If based off logged in, I have their demographics already, and I wanted to ask a specific sex question or a specific age group section.
Yeah, we don't have that, but that's something that we want to build into our product. We would need to get some information from you all, from the business owner, to be able to detect that and ask that question, but that's certainly something that we want to look at in the future. Thank you.
Yes, user testing in your comparison competition. Have you heard of user testing?
Yes, yeah.
How different are you?
So user testing, as I looked at them some time back, they help test a particular product that, with a specific set of beta users, right? Like it's specifically during that beta phase. But for us, like it's all about like continuously. What is that?
What do you mean beta phase? You don't have to be in beta phase to use user testing.
You can use it. What we do is the ability for the business to actually configure asking certain questions at certain point of time, which user testing does not have. That ability to configure on a click, on hover, on page load, all of that and wait after a little delay and timeout and all of that.
This was not intrusive, or this is only just for if you're in a beta phase and you want people to give you feedback?
That depends on the business. Like something like an NPS, I believe every business should have an NPS that one knows where they stand with their product so that you might not want to take it out, but there is a way that you could actually run a campaign for a certain time, like Rachelle wanted to have like beta tests. So you can run a campaign during a specific time period and take it out once you're done with that. So you have that ability. Or if you want a question to be there always. The good thing is that once we know that a user has either interacted with a particular question or submitted a question, we won't ask them again. So that's that sort of like the non-intrusive piece coming into the whole product.
It's just for web, or this is for...
So we have a web and a mobile web responsive solution. Right now we're working on an in-app mobile in-app iOS and Android solution as we speak. So we'll have that sometime in the future. Thank you. Thank you guys, thanks, appreciate it.
Hey guys, so now we're going to transition to our networking portion of our meeting. I feel like all of you came here, you braved the rain, and you found parking and did all this stuff. You came all the way here to like find other people that are like-minded that want to talk about startups and all this cool stuff. So I know that there's a lot of you. So to kind of kick it off, I thought maybe it would be very helpful for you to find out who all is in the room. So maybe we can just spend about like 30 seconds just going around the room, just talk about your name, maybe like why you came to the meeting tonight, and what you're looking for. So for example, like, hi, my name is Rochelle. Rochelle, I have a startup called Just Happy Hours, and I'm looking for beta testers, or whatever it is that you make. Or I'm just here just to learn about startups, and I'm new to the whole scene. So well, that was good. Yeah, okay, great. And then I guess you already,
No,
you want to go
that's-
again?
yeah.
Okay.
Just like if anybody is interested, please come talk to me after we interested in talking to you guys. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jacob. I recently graduated from UT with a master's in computational science and mathematics. I basically am looking forward to join a startup or young company in mathematics simulation arena.
My name is Mark. I'm just interested in meeting people. I'm a graphic designer and also a music producer, do various things like that. I'm interested in talking to people about how I can contribute to what they're doing, and if my skills line up with what people need.
Can you speak up a bit? Sorry. I
Oh,
couldn't
sure,
hear you.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm interested in just talking to people and seeing what they're interested in, and what I could do for them.
I'm Mark as well. My background is in material science and electrical engineering. I've done startups, and I've also worked in the industry, and I like the startup side of things. I'm just kind of here, curious, seeing what's out here, and looking to get involved.
My name's Chris Vanberg. I'm a founder. I released on iPhone, and I released on Android in December. I made an app called Heart Rate Social. It's a health and fitness social network. It's the first app that I believe to connect people for friends, workout buddies, and for dating, all geared to the health and fitness genre. And I'm just here to network and meet new people and meet people in stages, just like me.
Are you looking for beta testers?
Am I looking for what?
Beta testers?
No, I've already been a year beta. I'm got 2,000 downloads, and I'll be at 10,000 by February at least.
What's your website?
It's heartratesocial.com.
Thanks.
I'm Javad. I'm a programmer. I do Kubernetes, Django, React, TypeScript. I'm here to network and see if there's any opportunities that anybody's looking for one of those things.
Are you looking for developer jobs then?
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Or DevOps, if they can build Kubernetes or whatever.
My name's Bruno. I'm a startup enthusiast, so I'm here to meet people and learn things.
Cool, welcome.
Hi everyone, except for my name's Alec, I'm here with Koala. Would love to talk to anyone about startups.
Yeah, Tyler O'Brien, also here for Koala. Did not get to talk before. Same thing. It's very interesting talking to people about our idea, but also just really exciting to meet other people, start to do that. So.
I'm Dan, and retired from the state, but I'm want to be trying to know a lot more about web development. Also got some database background too as well.
Cool. By the way, for all of these that are developers and need help getting through your interview for programming, see George, he has a meetup on how to crack the code and successfully landing the interview. Okay.
Everybody, my name is Guy, 22 years designing products, mechanical engineer, consumer electronics, medical devices, aerospace, you name it. And I have a one-year-old startup that's pre-launch. We're actually called Launch IQ. And what we do is perform technical due diligence on early-stage startups and their technology, and give reports to investors to see if this is something they feel confident in putting money in. Thanks.
What What's the name of your website?
We're still working on it, you can visit it, but there's a lot of Laura Lipson near the bottom. It's called launchiq.net, not
Awesome.
lunch, launch.
Launch. LaunchIQ.com. Thank
Not
you.
.net.
.net.
Hello everyone, I'm Rash. I'm working on a couple of startup projects. The latest is a podcast that we're doing called Founders Then and Now. So I'm looking for founders to interview. So if there are any founders who want to get on our podcast, talk to them.
Hi everybody, I'm Justin, co-founder of a company called Sonic Bloom. We have a new product called Bard that helps video editors find and license music. We're in beta right now, so if you know any video editors or video creators, like YouTubers or podcasters, whatever, if you're looking to buy music, let me know. I'd love to do beta testing with them. Site is bardmusic.io. Bardmusic.io.
Can you spell it?
B-A-R-D.
Okay.
Music.io.
Awesome.
Hi everyone, I'm Devin. I am an investor and an entrepreneur. I'm just looking for good investment opportunities and or co-founder opportunities.
Hi everyone, my name's Shay. I go to St. Edward's doing international business, starting entrepreneurship classes, and studying Spanish. I am going to study abroad in Barcelona in January through the end of the semester. I go to a ton of meetups, and basically right now I'm just looking to meet people and potentially find a team to join when I come back to the States in summer. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Ellie. I work for an energy efficiency startup here at Capital Factory, and I just wanted to, I've never been to this meetup before, so I just wanted to come check it out.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Aaron. I'm just an enthusiast, just hanging out.
Awesome. Well then.
Yeah, my name's Kai Wong. I'm supposed to be sitting for blockchain meeting. I represent I2E, Virtual Engineering Group. IEE, 130 years old organization. My background is semiconductor. I used to run the controller network, got a bunch of hardware guys that can tackle big problem, like big generator, some small item or chip design, nanoscale. And also I do some business development in the past 10 years. Some semiconductor business. I can line up, help if you need some hardware people or some business development or how to go to the Asian market. My name is Kai Wong, and you can look up our I2E Consultant Network, Central Texas Consultant Network, and find us. We have a monthly meeting. We welcome all the young guys to come to our, the young girls to come to our meeting. And maybe we can do some service.
Great. See me afterwards, and then also Mark over there in the corner. He also has a semiconductor background as well.
I'm Chris. I'm a hardware guy, but not semiconductor, the board level stuff. And I was just involved with an IoT solution for that guy, and it's not a good sign that there's two of us here. But because, yeah, they just having some difficulties. But we both got some new ideas for stuff, I guess. And so if you have a hardware idea, you can run it by me. But, yeah.
They got instant tea.
Yeah, you can just totally and manufacturing. You can. Anyway.
I can go. Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan. I run a company called Colo. It's a co-living company. The tagline is senior housing for millennials. Just kidding. But it's community-oriented housing. And I currently have 3 houses that I do this at. I'm looking to partner with investors to scale it up. So if any of you guys have contacts with real estate, get with me, please. Thank you.
What was your website again?
Our website is Colo, C-O-L-O, Austin.com.
Hi, I'm Dakota. I'm just a hairstylist. But I was looking to find somebody who was good at developing apps because what I have right now is kind of like a flow chart to help stylists and clients be able to communicate better. Since sometimes, I bet most of us have had a bad haircut. Sometimes it's not the stylist, it's just that the stylist didn't understand what you wanted. And then from there, it just
Can you talk to me later, because there's one startup that may be of interest to you. Talk to you about it.
Well, my name is Alvin. I've got an idea for a startup. I just wanted to network with some coders to, show the direction in which to go.
You want to network with us?
Coders and developers.
Oh, okay. You're looking for developers, to hire developers?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay. I'm also part of Austin Programmer Community.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Ryan. I grew up in the tech space, but now I run a business district. So essentially 64 square blocks of an urban area. And our cities run on bad hardware and old software. So I'm just really interested in seeing that urban innovation and talking with people about like how you take, for example, perspective and put it in the side of a building so that people can react to their urban environment and help improve those things.
Scooters, more scooters. Thousands.
I'm Ryan, also. I do business development at HelpLogic. I was just looking to learn more about customer acquisition.
Hey y'all, I'm Ben, Chronologic AI. We turn leads into meetings on sellers' calendars, and we've typically done this with the enterprise. And right now, we are kicking off a program that's more geared towards startups, specifically around pricing and kind of custom onboarding. So I'm here to try to fill a small portfolio of companies. So if you guys are in the B2B space, if your sales process requires you to talk to prospects, I'd love to talk to you, see if y'all are a fit. If you are, then we can work together.
Chronologic.com?
Chronologic.ai.
.ai. Okay.
Brett, I just moved here about a month ago from Florida, worked for a seed stage, early stage VC back there. Just joined Micro Ventures here in Austin. We've got a equity crowdfunding platform and then also make direct investments in the startup. So mostly just trying to meet people here in the startup ecosystem, but if there's interesting startups that are looking for funding, it sounds like there probably is, then I'd love to chat and maybe there's some way we can help, so.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dwayne Ali, recent transplant from New York City, where I built and sold a startup. So very much like some of the people in this room, built and sold a startup in the capital markets fintech space. Currently, I do a lot of early stage startup advisory as well as investment.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dave Brixius with Turbot Interactive Web Solutions. I am here tonight in search of startups that I can help with web development, programming services. I have over 10 years of experience. Many web developers just want to make a quick buck and run. I want to be your web developer for as long as you require these services. Reputation is most important to me, and in that light, I offer 100% customer satisfaction guarantee on all of my work. So if you need anything, come see me. Dave Brixius, Turbot Interactive Web Solutions.
May I want to talk to Dakota?
Hey everybody, my name's Dave, and I am retired. And it sounds great for about 2 weeks. You are so bored. So anyway, I came here tonight to learn just more about startups. I am putting together a nonprofit, so all the investors in here are not going to be interested. But I'm trying to put a nonprofit together, give something back. So.
What are you going to call it, or what's the nonprofit?
I don't have a name for it yet.
Okay.
In 2001, Homeland Security decided that all the first responders had to have all the same kinds of radios so they could all talk to each other. A lot of the smaller departments, like out West Texas, that direction, the money never really made it there. And what I want to do is either provide them with the stuff they need or connect it with somebody who can provide them with what they need.
Okay, great, cool.
Hi, I'm George Keith. I've been a programmer since, about 40 years. I've done just about everything, programmed in just about everything. Most recently, Java, long history in C++, did some lists back in the day, and assembly language, and
also run a meetup.
Yeah, I also run a meetup called Cracking the Coding Interview. Some of you may have seen the big green book that's based on that book, or it was inspired by that book. I took it over earlier this year. And basically what I'm doing is teaching people data structures and algorithms, because we have people coming in, school, master's degree programs, coding academies, out of industry for 5, 10, 15 years. They don't know anything about algorithms. I do it for the fun of it, but I find I really enjoy teaching the newbies what an algorithm is and how do you evaluate the efficiency of an algorithm.
Thanks, sir.
Hello everyone, my name is Giovanni Garcia. I'm actually transitioning out of the military and I plan to move here to Austin next year.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so my experience is 10 years of military intelligence, which sounds great, but you don't do anything in the military. This is really brand new to me and I honestly don't know if it's something that I would be good at or interested in. So I'm here to find out. And the ultimate passion is to do real estate, and I'm a real estate investor on the side. And I'm just looking for a W-2 job to get me there, and then just use that money to keep on funding my real estate deals. And so Austin is great for the technology and obviously for the real estate market, so that's why I'm moving over here. Like I said, I'm just looking for both a job and real estate partners.
Thank you for your service.
Hey everyone, I'm Dan Knight. I work for TriNet during the day. We basically partner with a lot of startups here in Austin, helping them offload a lot of the liabilities of growing and scaling business, and offering Fortune 100 level benefits to very small startups. And then on the side also looking to put together at very early stages of putting together syndications for residential multifamily value adds and flips as well.
Cool. Do you have a website or anything?
TriNet does, I do not.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. And I'm Lily, by the way. I personally love connecting people and I love promoting people. I love talking about everyone's startups and telling people where everyone is and what they're doing. I'm working with multiple startups right now. One of them is Athena Security. The CEO and CTO that started this company, they previously exited out of their previous startup and sold their company for $40 million. And then this company that they're starting now, their next venture, they've already raised $1.3 million. And so they're just chugging away. But anyway, if you guys have any questions about where to find stuff, who to look for, who to hire, whatever, find me on LinkedIn. That is up there. Any other questions or comments from the audience?
So we have a space for like a walk or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they won't kick us out until like 9 o'clock.
Yeah, 9 o'clock is when they start closing those doors, so we need to be out of the doors by 9.
We're also looking for sponsors and we're going to try to form a panel for next month. And so if you
Yeah,
guys know anyone,
Yeah, if you guys know anyone in healthcare companies or startups that you want to be represented in the panel, let me know. We are working with a few startup companies here that have gone through, I think, Mass Challenge Accelerator and a couple of other accelerators as well, that we'll be having at the panel. And other than that, I know there's a few people that wanted developers. I think there's a few other developers that can help answer some questions there. And there's also a few accelerator programs in Austin that might be of interest to you if you're a startup company trying to get into an accelerator. If you want to know more about such accelerators and things like that, shoot me an email or try to get in touch with me. I can connect you with some of the folks. And I think Tyler, he's a veteran, right?
What?
Tyler, who presented last time here, Kumo Travel.
Yeah, Kumo, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe if you want to meet that person, we can connect you with him as well, because he was also just a recent, I think he came out of military recently, and he started his own startup. He presented last time or maybe the one before.
Awesome.
So awesome, and we still do have our conversations on austin.chat/g/14 that we we do offline conversations there, because we can only talk about so much here. And then Other than that, I mean, if you guys want me to send out, these companies that have been mentioned here, I think, Colo, Heart Rate Social, Just Happy Hours, and I know there's like 2 companies here that wanted that told about their apps. I know Heart Rate Social has an app, so if you guys are into fitness and want to also meet other fitness folks or enthusiasts, do download Heart Rate Social and give some advice or suggestions or feedback to.
All criticism welcome.
And then Just Happy Hours also has a beta program right now, so please do download this app and give some feedback to Rachel, and that will be awesome, and also spread the word because I think that'll be, the first customers are always the hardest to get, so. And then we also have Perspective that presented today, so as you know, Perspective is a user feedback tool that can be of help to multiple companies or even retail shops and anyone who has websites that gather user feedback from. So if you know anyone that runs a retail company or any company that gathers user feedback, do let them know about Perspective, and also give some feedback to Wilson, yeah, to Wilson about Perspective, and that'll be really appreciated. And Launch IQ is who was here? Yeah. So do you want any feedback or anything like that, or do you want me to send out a link to Launch IQ to the other?
If you want to sign up, anyone who's interested in learning more, stick around a little.
Okay, wonderful. I'll send it out. And then we also have Bard.io. So I know there might be a couple of YouTubers here that usually buy music, or I don't know if they buy music or just put YouTube music tracks behind. But I'll let them know about it. And Heart Rate Social might know about this. Do you remember in the session we had with the Meetup founder?
Yep.
Wasn't there a couple of Meetup organizers who run either an audio?
Oh yeah. Well, there's a guy that does voiceovers.
Voiceovers. Okay.
That's Mike.
And then there was another. I thought they did bands or something like that.
Yeah, there is somebody that does. Oh, he does it's a band meetup basically.
Oh, okay.
And what he does is like if you're trying to if you just want to play a band, you just want to practice, you just want to do jam sessions, you plug in your type of music and they help create little genres of small bands. And they've created a couple of bands, like 3 or 4 bands out of it.
So I don't know if you want to just get in touch with them or not. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll send out all these things to. Usually I send out a newsletter before the event, doing a recap of what happened in the last event, and also if there's any shout-outs like like the websites here and the apps and things like that, I'll send out links to those as well. And one of the things we found 3 weeks back we had the Meetup founder, the founder of Meetup.com, come here and talk to the Meetup organizers about various things. And one of the things we found was that the communication on Meetup.com doesn't work always. It only works 40% of the time, it seems. So I don't know why that's so, but that just came right from the horse's mouth. So if you want,
only 50% of messages are received. Wow.
Yeah. So
it used to be 40%.
Yeah, that's true.
They're happy they got it to 50.
And they hope in the next years it jumps up to 60, it seems. So yeah.
Don't expect your Meetup members to get your messages.
So if you're not getting my messages or if you're not getting my newsletters, send me an email, or maybe even Lily put on a Google form there if you want to share your emails, or we won't share your emails with anyone. We just send you interesting links from the meetups that happen here and things like that. If not, you can just wait for Meetup email to come. So that's about it. And we have this room till 9 o'clock, and 9 o'clock is when we need to be outside. We can still continue our conversations outside in the lobby. And so thank you all very much for coming today. And if you have any suggestions, again, shoot me an email at suman@funnelai.co, or send it to Lily, and we will take all of your suggestions and try to make it better. Thank you all. You all have a good day.
I'm interested in engineers like to get
Thank you, Rachel. It was a wonderful presentation.
ideas, so that when I jump in, I know what it looks for. So that's why I want to ask you about your idea and how you route it. Have you do you have a sense of what the work of artists you want to personalize or to adapt your feedback system to any website?
So I there's so many great questions in that area. I just kind of wanted to you know, and that's my day job.
How do you have an idea of how expensive is it for you to adapt the system? Because if they're struggling,
Well, I've always had it, you know, I think it's like such a learning experience. Yeah, well, I guess so. But
yes, but
you know, I tried, back when I started, I was like, I was really out there. I mean, I think they clients, but I just I've been playing around. Well, I have goals for it in terms of like I feel like I mean for me a lot of it is actually I really like and like those, you know, go talk to some people in restaurants or the person
so you have to integrate this into the website, right? Okay, so it doesn't, it is not a
you know, they could be like, oh, I got a copy of this.
Why is it that
Now,